Well, I don't even know what to say after that whole thing.
I do.
Go ahead.
You want me to start it?
Just kick it off, man.
The 5% of fans that are a complete embarrassment to the University of Tennessee throwing stuff on the field, that keyword 5%, the 95, it might even be less than that. The other ones, the ones that understand that it's a sporting event, kudos, because the atmosphere looked like it was amazing. Night game, checkerboard, all this stuff. And all we asked for all week was, let's have a game go down to the wire. Let's have a great game. Yes, we want to come out on the winning side, but we legit start throwing. I'm trying not to use bad language. Throwing stuff on the field, golf balls, bottles of freaking mustard. Come on, guys. I mean, come on. That's an embarrassment to the University of Tennessee for everything that everybody in every aspect that is involved with the program or in the university in any aspect. Professor, chancellor, student, parent of a student, anything, just complete fan. The ones that did that, and obviously they're not here listening because they were, they're not streaming right now. So I'm talking to those people. We'll say that's wrong on so many levels. Just you don't do that. And I've said this before. Do I like SEC Network's night team? No, not really. I don't like listening to them. I think they just talk. But what Rogers said, I think he was right. Where everything, the great game that we had, as a fan watching, was pretty much almost ruined because of that 20-minute delay from what ignorant people did.
So let's get into it from there. I'll kick it off by saying welcome to the A to Z Sports Big Orange Game Day post-game reaction show. I'm Charlie Burris, former VOLS quarterback Jonathan Crompton, laying down the truth there. I don't even know where to start. There's so much to unpack here. Because the throwing of stuff onto the field is embarrassing for Tennessee and just inexcusable. You can't do that. And then you also have to talk about the fact that it was instigated by a couple of things. Obviously, Tennessee gets screwed out of a fumble touchdown at the beginning of the game that should have been a touchdown, and you lose by 5. So that would have won you the game. Let's. I know. I'm not. I don't want to make
there will never be excuse to throw shit on the field. Excuse my language. That's bottom line.
Exactly.
We can sit here and say it's instigated, and I'm with you. We can say it's instigated.
You just have to talk about it.
It doesn't matter if somebody came up and got in your face and spit on you. You don't throw stuff on the field.
Yeah, it's
you don't 100%. Do that.
Yes, that's totally inexcusable. You cannot do that in any scenario. Even though I know in that scenario, everybody, your anger is there. You want it. You can't. Obviously, for the safety of everybody and everything going on there. But I think to have the full conversation here, you do also have to go. That certainly doesn't happen. I think if a couple of things don't happen, the horrific officiating, that starts to boil the crowd. Tennessee, I guess it's 3 things. The horrific officiating from beginning to end.
Yeah.
On both sides, Tennessee takes the brunt of some pretty tough stuff there, including a touchdown fumble that would have won you the game. Start there. But then you also have Kiffin with the injuries, fake or real.
And I was going to go there. So here's the thing.
Yes.
I was going to really kind of unleash on that, but then looking at it, I mean, some of them were legit.
Some of them were. And that was the weird part.
Our starting guard did the same thing, but theirs was a little more suspicious.
Some of them were
when it happened. I think it was 3 or 4 times on one drive.
Yeah.
2 of them the same dude. Stuff like that. I get it. But here's the thing that everybody's got to understand. And me and my wife were sitting there talking about this, and I don't know how many people understand this and know this because I'm saying that being serious. Every team has a team meeting on this, and there will be a designated player and or players on every side of the ball, offense, defense, special teams, that if you get pointed at, you got sniped, go down. Every team does this. And it is one of the worst things in sports because we don't have a rule to penalize for it. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's obvious at a certain point when 3 or 4 dudes are going down on the same. Now, when it's an actual injury, man, we don't need to boo. You know what I'm saying? We would not want anybody booing Hendon at the end of the game on a road game for him playing his guts out, especially in the second half, getting hurt.
I was going to say, when Corral went down and you heard the boo.
You don't boo there. I understand the other part when they just jump. It's like the soccer players. They just jump up and run off the field. Like, I get that. Like, give them a little harassment there. But when somebody's, you can tell they're legitimately hurt. The dude's wearing a knee brace and he's holding his right knee. He probably hurt that knee. Because I promise you, no football player is going to fake an injury to something he's already got a brace on.
So, on that point, I mean, there's a lot to unpack just with the fake injury stuff, and you're getting at it there. But you have Tennessee getting screwed on multiple occasions. I actually do think, looking at it, that final spot actually might have been correct. I hate to admit that.
Let's call it like it is, man. It's a very unfortunate spot.
It is. You just can't tell. You didn't have the camera angle.
It sucks, but it was correct. I'm an optimistic person, right? And we've kind of talked about this stuff here before. The same BS that went on tonight, man, I had to deal with myself personally.
Yeah.
Right? So it's made me a very optimistic person, understanding that only, like I said, 5% of fans are ignorant as hell and douchebags. Keyword, 5%. The 95% aren't. Right? And there's a lot of stuff that people don't understand. Everybody's human. Everybody internalizes things differently, right? But what has went on tonight there, and then also I'm going to be completely honest. I finally see one comment that says stop blaming Milton. Dude, he's a kid. He's a goddamn kid. Stop saying the chant should be F Joe Milton. Then you need to have a reality check. I'll buy you lunch. Come have lunch with me. I will buy you lunch because he's a goddamn kid.
I mean, okay? Milton is so far down the list in terms of the things that hit on in this game.
But that's what I'm getting at. Like, we got to understand, man, bottom line, I love this stuff.
Yeah.
I made a living playing football. It's a game.
Exactly.
I'm sitting here. I'm a morning. I go to bed early. I'm not a morning person, but I'm like an early. Let's go to bed, lay down. I mean, staying up until 12:30 is tough for me. Right? I'm not in college. I'm on the edge of my seat watching this because I love this stuff, just like everybody else here does. I get it, but man, they're kids. They put their heart and soul into this stuff, just like every team does. Let's be appreciative that we had a game that was 31-26 that everybody was excited to stay up and watch. Now, we can correct this stuff. We can talk about it. I'll break this shit down all day. Okay? But let's be respectful with it is what I'm getting at.
So just to wrap up my thoughts on that, because we do actually have the actual game to talk about, because Tennessee almost beat Ole Miss. Let's not forget that.
Reality is we had every shot.
What?
Sucks.
Three drives, beautiful opportunities to win this game. But to wrap up my full thoughts there, to me, the throwing of the stuff on the field it was a perfect storm. And this is, again, in no way to make an excuse for this. You cannot do that. It's inexcusable. You cannot throw anything. At the same time, you do have to acknowledge this was an absolutely perfect storm from all angles. This game is so tense. And you have all of the sort of mythos that we all know between Tennessee and Kiffin. Kiffin's he's being cheeky with the injuries, and that's pissing everybody off, and people are booing because of that. He's getting the Tennessee fans that way, on top of all of the built-up emotion of it being Lane Kiffin. Then you add on top of that the refs, and I mean, you're just building a time bomb. Yeah. You add on top of that the refs being awful. You add on top of that a tense, close, crazy game.
And a quarterback running for 195.
No. And like I said, we got to talk about the actual game. But you just add all of those pieces on top of it, and it exploded at the end. And it just, Tennessee fans, you feel totally slighted. Like you said, the 5% that threw the stuff, inexcusable. But in some sense, I say you should feel slighted. Tennessee lost a touchdown that would have won them the game. You can go from there. But it just, I don't like, everything has to be acknowledged there, and it's tough because it was really, really ugly what happened, and you can't deny it. This is, you just witnessed, I think Tennessee fans just witnessed or participated in, depending, who knows who's watching this, participated in college football history. You will look back on this game. This game will get brought up for time in eternity. I mean, this is going to be one where people look back and they go, remember that time Tennessee fans threw crap on the field and it was Lane Kiffin and all that. He caught the golf ball that said F you Lane or whatever it said. Like we just witnessed like an infamous event in college football. And I think it bears breaking down, as ugly and terrible as it was. I mean, it just.
Yeah. I mean, and let's just kind of, look at the numbers. The crowd throwing the ball, our secondary played really freaking good.
Yeah.
He was 21 of 38. And here's the funny part, though. I'm sitting here in the second half going, damn, like he's got 9 completions in the second half. It was almost like 8 of them were behind the line, it seemed like. Right? So he still only threw for 52% against us. He only threw for 231. The biggest number is he ran the ball 30 times for 195, right? So obviously we weren't expecting them to have that as much of their game plan as they did. And they executed that well, which sucks. But like I said, our secondary played really well for what it was going up against tonight. I mean, honestly, they're the 13th ranked team. Now I said on Friday, should they be? Maybe not, but they're 4-1 now, 5-1. So they're deserving of it in that sense. Just like I've said, Wake Forest and a couple of teams should be a little higher because of their record, right? But
you were getting gouged as bad as you were, and you gave up 31 points to a team that's averaging, I believe, over 40.
No, I think it's like 46 or something like that.
Yeah, and so in a technical sense, you held Ole Miss in check.
Exactly.
Tennessee, there is no questioning in my mind. Tennessee should have scored 40 some odd points in this game. What did we just say? 3 drives where they could have scored a touchdown to win this thing. 3 where you had it just at the end. That's just at the end. You can go back and look at some of the dud drives they had earlier in the game and go, well, could have, should have with those too. I guess just at the end of the game, 3.
Well, like, my biggest my biggest moment of the game is after the interception. I did not like the play calls that drive. I thought we were a little not that we should have taken 3 deep balls, but I feel like we were a little too conservative for the momentum swing because you could tell the stadium was behind us, hands down, all night, but especially at that moment. Really wish we would have
killed the momentum.
Yeah, we would have done something just to get things to look, because that was our chance to completely change it, possibly go up right there, and then who knows what happens, right? Because from then on, we pretty much stalled them from then on. That would be the one of my biggest takeaways is that one particular drive, just in general from the game. But, I mean, other than that, the first half, like we said, it wasn't great. We actually made some adjustments in the second half. We played well in the second half. We got Hendon running the ball in the second half. All I can say is from his standpoint, man, I hope he's all right. I hope it's not that serious. He is
look bad.
Literally, we ran on a 2nd and 17. Exactly, that's what I'm saying. Like, I agree with you. Like, after the turnover, 2nd and 17, we're running the ball. That's the stuff I don't understand.
So I think the conversation, man, there's so much to go into here, because we obviously have to have the conversation about this game and everything that happened. Like, you almost beat Ole Miss, and that really says something about this team. But you also look and you go, you lost to Ole Miss because of a number of things, but a primary one among them in those critical drives. Some of the play calling was just off, as you're saying there. It's a run play on 2nd and 17. What are we doing? And there's just layers to this, because this wasn't the craziest part of this whole game. Well, it's not the craziest part of this whole. The craziest part of this whole game was fans throwing stuff on the field. But the craziest part of this whole game, as it pertains to the football on the field, was that Tennessee truly should have beaten Ole Miss. This was not Tennessee ran out of time and you put your all out there. Like Arkansas ran out of time. They tried, they had it, it was right there. They ran out of time. Tennessee had 3 opportunities to go down and score and win the football game, and they blew it. And that makes this so much more complicated than just being able to say Ole Miss was better. That's what I kind of hate walking away from this game, because I wanted to walk away and be like, Ole Miss was the better team. Ole Miss was the better team. Corral is the better quarterback. I don't know that Ole Miss is the better team at the end of this game.
The one thing I can say is if you go and you watch Ole Miss and watch this season, okay, watch how their offense operates. Corral is a damn good athlete, okay, but bottom line is most of his yards comes off of double move, big plays, and behind the line throws. Keyword most, not all. He's smart. It's all like it is. He plays to his quarterback's strength. His strength is not taking a 3 or 5 step drop and reading a progression and throwing concepts. It's, hey, man, we got a double move here. Pump it, go. Hey, we're throwing a swing here. Hey, we're going to throw a bubble here. We're throwing a smoke screen here, right? Guess what counts as passes? Boop. Jet sweep, toss it. See what I'm saying? Like, those are all passing yards. So I'm not taking anything away from Crowd. Dude's a ball player. He's a ball player now. I'm just saying, but from the quarterback standpoint, you can tell they have adjusted to his strengths of let's keep it what I call simplistic sophistication, right? Meaning we're going to run the same play 5 different ways, but it's the same play. All right. Now, can you hate on that? No, because that's what we're trying to do. And it's going to, we're getting there. That's how you play fast. So if, he was the best player in the field tonight, hands down.
Yeah.
We all understand that. But if you take away even just half of his running production, it's a very subpar offensive production from Ole Miss tonight.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's the toughest thing here is that you do look and go, it was right there for you. It makes me ill because just theoretically, I almost say this has been the whole season, man, where you just go, if this happened, this would have if Hooker played against Pittsburgh, you would have won. If Tyon Evans plays tonight and it changes the dynamic in that backfield, you might win by double digits in this game. I think you free up Hooker more in that scenario. Those first and second down runs are more effective. And that makes a huge difference.
4 to 5 instead of 2.
Exactly. And that changes when you're averaging 4 yards a game. That means you're averaging a first down. And that's on 3 plays. And so, man, it's tough. We could go down that road forever. I think we got to kind of turn and
but that's about football with injuries. I mean, that's just obviously Lane's saying certain guys they had out. I don't know their roster, so to speak, so I don't know who he was really talking about. I mean, they have guys out too, but that's every team. Look at Georgia. JC Daniels is out. It's about stepping up, and I think our guys stepped up more in the second half than we did in the first half. First half, though, like I said on the halftime, I think a lot of it was to do with conservative play calling, trying to see if we could get into the game slowly and do this and that. I mean, they ran 101 plays tonight. Our defense, I do not want to know what any of those guys' legs are going to feel like tomorrow, especially the D line, because getting up and down. Like, yeah.
I mean, it was brutal, and it's what an admirable effort. 101 plays and 31 points given up. Like, people are going to look and go, well, you gave up 31 points on 101 plays, man.
Exactly.
Like, come on.
But that also is partly due to our offense not staying on the field in the first half. They ran 60% of their plays in the first half.
I don't know. It's so conflicting. Because let's stop here because we kind of need to get to sort of the second half of the show like we usually do. Let's talk about what this all means going forward. A few things. Hooker looks like he's hurt. You need Tyon Evans back badly. Does this game sort of point towards Tennessee? Is it actually a good sign for Tennessee that you essentially should have beaten Ole Miss? Let's talk about all of that in just a second. But I gotta say,
people make me laugh.
Hold that thought. The A to Z Sports Big Orange Game Day post-game show is brought to you by all the other content on A2ZSports.com. Primarily among them is the podcast that I host with my fellow A to Z Sports Tennessee writer, Zach Reagan. It's called the Big Orange Podcast. It drops every Monday. Go subscribe. And I will say this week, it's going to be a hitter because we're going to go – I'm going to go deep into this, throwing stuff on the field and everything that happened there. There's so much to unpack there that we can in our little sort of 30-40 minute thing here. And so Big Orange podcast every Monday, A to Z Sports Podcast Network feed, rate, review, subscribe over there. Then A2ZSports.com, Titans coverage, Predators coverage, and of course, Tennessee coverage, all of it. And they're getting into like the Cowboys. If you're a Cowboys fan, they got Kansas City coverage too. They're doing everything over there. A2ZSports.com. And they're, of course, the great folks that fuel this whole show. So with that out of the way, going forward, that injury to Hendon Hooker, man.
Yeah.
You saw what happened. He's not putting pressure on it.
I'm
going off.
I'm afraid he might be done for the year, and I hope he's not because, man, he plays tough. He's the epitome of I'll give my all for Tennessee today. He's only been there this year, and you can already tell he buys into that. I really hope for his sake, obviously for the team's sake, but more so for his sake, that it's not serious, or serious that he's going to have a reconstructive surgery or something like that.
I can only hope because I think let's be honest, your goal against Bama is stay healthy. Because you have a bye week. You have a bye week after that. I mean, Bama beat Ole Miss by 40 tonight. Just say your prayers and just go out there and do what you can, you know. And so then you have a bye week before Kentucky. Get as healthy as you can. That has to be rest these boys. Give them whatever they want. I don't know. Steroids, vitamins. I don't know.
They'll be getting a lot of Toradol.
Yeah. I mean, they got to be hurting after this one.
I don't agree with it, but they will.
Yeah, and it's you're roughed up. You're just a shadow of a team right now, and you're still playing tough. You're still playing tough with all of these injuries, and that's
I like what Jimmy says here, though, man. Bottom line is Bama barely beat Florida. Any game that you play, there's always a chance because let's call it is. Nobody thought Texas A&M was going to beat Bama.
It's true.
Right? Yeah. Nobody ever thought that USC back in the early 2000s were going to go down. I'm not going to sit here and say, "Oh, we're winning." I'm just saying, like, there's always a chance, and I completely agree with that. I love that comment.
If Hooker is 100% going into that game, I'm not saying what I just said. I will preface it and say that, but I think if Milton is your starter, Bailey's your starter, and you can't make the plays that Hooker's making for you.
It will be interesting to see what happens next week on how the dynamic goes as the quarterback, because let's call it like it is. There's a really good chance that Hendon at least not practicing.
Yeah.
At the minimum, right?
Yeah.
So that dynamic will be interesting, I would say, to see how we're going to go forward. Like I said, hopefully Hendon can get healthy enough to play because he's obviously our best chance to win. And I think we can all agree on that. He's our best chance, and especially with the type of play calling we're doing, where we're trying to get quarterback runs in. Bailey's he doesn't fit that mold. He can throw the hell out of the ball. But our type of offense that we're running right now is not that.
Is the play calling we saw tonight where sort of across the board we all sort of had concerns about what we saw from Josh Heupel's play calling? Does that raise red flags to you specifically about him adapting to the situation? Because sort of like I said, I think if Tyon Evans is out there getting 4 yards on first down over Jabari Small getting 1 or 2, it changes the game. It really does. But you got to adapt to the players that you have on the field. Does that throw a red flag to you at all?
Not necessarily, because if you look at it, there's a lot of teams that do the same stuff. Notice what I said about Ole Miss earlier. they probably ran different plays, probably 6 all night.
Yeah, they're not reinventing the wheel.
No, and I say that because they're what's the dude Browse that I guess he's at Arkansas now, I guess. But when he was with Kiffin at FAU, and before that he was at Baylor, the young guy, very innovative in this type of offense, blah, blah, blah. They don't run many plays in that system. Their deal is I'm going to wear you out, and we're going to run the same zone play or the same counter play or the same jet sweep play, and that's our run game. Like, bottom line, every time that Ole Miss tonight went jet sweep, motion back around, they ran outside zone away from that every time. So it's one of those that we're on the same line of that in this type of system. It can be successful, right? But you got to have the type of players to do it, and you got to have your guys healthy. I mean, Evans needs to be healthy, and we've got to have a quarterback, not a running quarterback. We got to have a mobile quarterback. You know what I mean? Like, Hooker still ran for 108 tonight. Think about that. He was our leading rusher. He still ran for 108 because of the second half, and we got to have somebody like him. Tyree, I'm with you. Those 6 plays were working. Our 3 to 5 weren't. I'm not going to disagree with that. I'm not going to disagree with that at all. But that's what a lot of these teams have kind of adapted is, well, if we play really fast, we don't have to run many plays. Then it leads into what we talked about earlier. What teams are going to now start doing? Oh, you just got sniped. Go down. Oh, stop the, essentially that's a free timeout. Yeah, you got to come out, but you just saved us a timeout. Like, so it all kind of correlates together, where that's what we've allowed in the game now. And also what we talked about at halftime. The referees got to be held accountable in some way, shape, or form, not necessarily for tonight, but just in general. There's too many blown calls. And I'm not talking about, like I said, I'm not talking about tonight specifically. I'm just saying in general, there's too many blown calls that affect the outcome of games. Truly. Right? Yeah. They missed a couple holding calls on them. They may have missed 1 or 2 on us. Keyword may. They called one on us that I'm like, dude, the guy just pancaked him. We were already past him. We pancaked him and call holding. His arm was around him a little bit, but dude, he's past the play. He cannot affect the play. Stuff like that. Like, you got to, and at what point do we hold everybody accountable for that?
I mean, the ugly incident at the end of the game, if anything can be taken away outside of it just being an embarrassing incident for Tennessee, like, let it be a wake-up call to the SEC to a certain extent. Like, hello, somebody.
There'll be a protocol in the next week or 2.
Yeah, I mean, hello. There's got to be something, because as we said at the beginning of this show, inexcusable, but that doesn't happen if the refs call a good game. Like,
well, no, it still would have happened. And I'm not being a dick. I promise you.
Think?
Yes.
Maybe. I mean,
I know it would have.
If you consider,
let me go back to what. Let me kind of preference that though. Not by 100% of the people there.
Yeah,
by the 3 to 5% of drunk, ignorant people, it would have happened.
That's true.
But the other 95 to 97% would have still done the exact same thing, cheered their rear ends off, right? Made it hard for Ole Miss. We obviously affected them. We saw that. We affected their communication a lot tonight. And Randy, I'm with you. That's my opinion. Keyword opinion. You can say that I'm wrong, and I respect your opinion, but it's my opinion because I've lived those moments.
You know what's actually funny, and I saw people bringing this up, and I had totally forgotten this had happened. That actually wasn't the first time that has happened between Tennessee and Ole Miss.
Really?
A couple of years ago at basketball, I remember Tennessee won on a screwy call. In the exact opposite way, Tennessee was the beneficiary of some awful officiating, and Ole Miss fans just threw a ton of stuff on the floor. And I had forgotten that had happened. That's crazy that it was both times. It was Ole Miss and Tennessee.
The comment of the night. The comment of the night, Jacob. The mustard was for the cramps.
And who has mustard in the crowd? Who's carrying mustard into Neyland?
And who's taking a golf ball?
Yeah.
As long as you don't have a 9-iron, I guess we're okay.
It's weird people out there. But man, that was just I texted it to y'all before we came on here. That game could be a 30 for 30, boy. That was something. Everything.
And I'm going to ask this question off of a comment, and I think we can only ask this question tonight. And I do also think this had something to do with it. The comment, it's because it was Lane Kiffin. Why does one individual affect people so much?
Yeah.
And I asked that meaning like I'm being dead serious. Like I'm not trying to be a smart ass. I promise.
I mean, because
somebody else earlier, one I was laughing at, tried to call me a name and all this stuff and said, oh, Kiffin ruined everything for us. So if we let one individual ruin your life, I feel very sorry for you. And I genuinely mean that. If you know what I'm saying? If you let one individual, now, do we want to beat him? Hell yeah. Mainly because he's the coach on the opposing team.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's just, like I said, it's just a question. I'm being serious. Thank you, John. Kiffin's been gone for over 12 years. Get over it. It is what it is. So we've let one individual affect you for 12 years. Man, that's over a decade of your life. I'm sorry. And I say that in sincerity.
That's why I said earlier this week I wrote a column on A to Z Sports, basically saying, please win this game, Tennessee, so that we can forget Lane Kiffin, so that you can say we beat this guy. We don't need him. We don't.
So here's the thing. Since we didn't beat him, does it continue to go on now? You know what I mean? That's just.
I know.
But see, that's the point I'm trying to make is like, guys, it's been 12 years.
Go.
It's been 12 years. It should have been let go before this.
Yeah. And
I'm saying that because there's no better feeling than just having peace, just in general. Like if you can never be happy with yourself, then what does it matter? Yeah, I mean, it's just okay. How has he been trolling ball fans? I mean, how many times has he admitted that he screwed up and he actually loves Knoxville? Like legitimately, he's not trolling all the time. You know, we understand he has fun with it. Don't get me wrong, but he's not always trolling. He legitimately loves Knoxville. He named his kid Knox, for God's sakes.
He did. He made me laugh last night. He tweeted that picture of Roosters, the bar.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like he genuinely loved it there. His dad actually still gets upset with him for leaving. So all I'm saying is I'm sorry if he really honestly affects not everybody, because nothing is for everybody. But hopefully we can let it go and move on, because this team right now is playing harder than we've seen in a long time in Knoxville. And it is fun to watch.
So here I think
it's real fun to watch. I mean, the comments tonight are just phenomenal on here. I mean, I'm loving it in the sense of there's going so many different ways. And I'm going to ask this one more question, and I'm going to stop asking questions. Charlie, if you are a recruit, okay, sitting in the stands, great game, down to the wire, blah, blah, blah. Then that happened at the end. Does that affect your decision going to Tennessee?
Yeah. I mean, I think it would.
To me, that's a legitimate question. And I believe on here, and I read it, and I was like, hey, man, that's because recruits and their parents are there going, do I want to send my kid here? And it's not just because it's Tennessee. They would say that about anywhere, I think.
Number one recruit in the state of Tennessee was there, I believe. Yeah. The kid that plays at Powell. I'm
assuming because I saw The Rock had homecoming to him or something.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, yeah, it's ugly. It's an ugly, ugly incident. And as I said earlier in the show, we saw an infamous event tonight, something that will be referenced for millennia, where people look back. It'll be like Shiano Sunday, like Tennessee. This is our deal.
All right. So watch this. Eric, correct me if I'm wrong, Garst, I think, but you said it wouldn't affect you. You would want to go there more because it's passion. How is being disrespectful passion? I can understand the booing of the calls. I can get that. I'm with you. But throwing golf balls and throwing water bottles, having to, like, the cheerleaders, the dance team, and the band had to evacuate the field.
I do wonder.
I'm just curious. Like I said, I don't know how I would feel. I don't know.
Yeah, I do wonder exactly how I'll feel if I'm 17, because I think back to like when I was that age. Obviously, I was not a star athlete. You could speak to this much more, as you were highly sought after coming out of high school. But like, I just think back, like I probably at some point in that adolescent part of my life into college, I probably would have been pro throwing things on the field. I would have been like, screw these refs and these, because you have that young disrespect for whatever, and that's, and I think I would guess.
Notice the one word out of that you said.
Disrespect. It's you're young and stupid, and I would bet that a large portion of the people throwing stuff were students.
Oh, well, more than likely.
If I'm a betting man,
more than likely.
And so I do wonder exactly how it would translate, because also you got to think those recruits are not Tennessee fans also, so they're not wrapped up in all that stuff. It's kind of hard to say, but you would definitely think off the top, like, that's not a good look all the way around. It's just not. I mean, it's ugly. But
I think Chandler probably is right on this. Chandler White, he says, I don't think a 17-year-old would care. The parents, maybe.
Yeah, that's the point.
But that's the things, like you said, as a kid, you may go, oh yeah, I love it, blah blah blah. But stepping back as an adult, keyword adult, going, that's not right.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. That's where I would at least hope a parent would go, hey, the atmosphere was great, love it. You can't get much better than kneeling on, especially at night. It's just hard to beat. But understand that was, if it happens once, it can possibly happen again. Now everybody can say, "Oh, it's never happened before," and it hasn't. But now it has.
Right? Except that's at an Ole Miss basketball game.
Well, no, but I'm saying like at kneeling. Yeah, you know what I mean. Like, so I'm curious, what's the SEC going to do? Because what A&M and somebody else got $100,000 or $150,000 fine for storming the field.
Oh, there's going to be a fine.
Well, yeah, I'm curious on how much.
Yeah, that was bad, and they gave out like a forfeit warning near the end of that game.
And I was afraid they were going to call the game as a pretty much make a statement.
But I think that it was actually good they didn't do that, because I think it would have been exponentially worse. I think you might have gotten like fans coming on the field and stuff at that point. I think it would have really, really boiled over.
And then the repercussions would have been
horrific,
really, really, really bad.
I mean, it would have been a
University of Tennessee.
Yeah, it would have been a Malice at the Palace type of incident. Like I'm kind of glad that they didn't do that. Unfortunately, I mean, this is probably what you deserve in that scenario, as much as I wanted Tennessee to win that game. But that was something, wasn't it?
Well, I mean, watch this. Let's kind of recap real quick. Bottom line is, this time last year, we never would have been in a ball game like this.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just call it like it is. We would not have been in this, right? We wouldn't be 4-3. Hell, we won 3 or 4 games total last year, right? It just, the team, I'm encouraged. I really am with where we're headed. I love to see the guys. I mean, and notice one thing I did like it. Then when Hendon went down, the offense is over there getting ready, because we got to come up with a play. We got no timeouts, right? Bailey's out there standing near him. I love that. That's a good teammate. You know what I mean? And let me take it back. That's not a good teammate. That's somebody that cares about an individual. I don't know if we would have seen that last year or the year before, because I don't know if enough guys actually, not in a bad way, I don't know if they were really in it for everybody, because it was so the culture was so bad. And it wasn't their fault. That made me feel good where we're headed in this program.
I still, to be as optimistic as I can be, even as the negative guy that I know that everybody thinks I am, I would walk away from this game. I do walk away from this game saying you get a healthy, higher caliber set of players, or even I think you could do it with a healthy set of the players you have even. Yeah. And you're going to push some teams you shouldn't push, and you're going to win some games you shouldn't win. And then eventually you're going to become a good football team.
And what I've said. It's been a while since I've said it, but bad coaching can outweigh good talent.
Mm-hmm.
Good coaching can outweigh bad talent, meaning the better coaches you have, you can still win ball games against a team that you shouldn't beat.
Yep. And
we finally have coaches in there that at least seem like they're competent about football and care about these kids. You know what I'm saying? And genuinely want them to play hard. Not because it's deepening their pocket as a coach, but because these kids came to the University of Tennessee and these coaches want to live in Knoxville. Right? Heupel even said, man, my family loves it here. Like we want to be here forever. That's what you want. I don't know, for a guy like him, I don't know if that's just, lip service. I think that's a legit thing because Tennessee is not a stepping stone job. And I think we have a guy that knows that and that can build something, because now that we have the good coaching, as we've seen, not that anybody they're still SEC caliber players. We just don't have the depth, right? But even with the lack of depth that we have right now, we still competed against a team we shouldn't have been able to compete against. By the numbers, at least. You know what I mean? And that is that's a big thing for me. So if I'm a recruit, I'm looking at that stuff.
I think it's a good place to call it a night. It's 1 a.m. I
just wonder that I'm still awake.
Man, what a night. I said it on Twitter earlier. I feel like I've lived a lifetime in the last 7 hours. That was the craziest. What in the world? What did we just see? I know some people were still asking that we're just showing up near the end of the show, our takes on like the refs and everything. We talked about it at the beginning of the show. This will be there for replay for anybody who's just watching or just tuning in. It'll all be on YouTube, Twitch, Twitter. Is that it? I don't know. Streaming it on all the platforms. And so you can go find it there. We gave all of our thoughts at the beginning on all of that. That was obviously the stuff that we kicked the show off with. So you can go find that there. But otherwise, at Charlie_Burris on Twitter, at JCromp8. You can go find us there, A2ZSports.com. The Big Orange Podcast on Mondays. And we're, like I said, me and Zach are going to go deep on this throwing stuff on the field and everything and all that means. And so A2Z Sports Podcast Network feed. Go there for the Big Orange Podcast. And otherwise, got all my plugs in. Any parting thoughts before we go, Cromp?
You're welcome, LSU. Because that's who Ole Miss has next week after Arkansas and then us. Dude, they're going to be gassed. You're welcome, LSU.
Yeah, they do. They beat up Corral, man. That's true.
We'll end it that way.
Yeah. So that's it. Thanks to everybody watching. That was a huge show. We had like 400 people watching at one point. That's massive.
Love it.
You guys are awesome. Thank you for watching. And we'll see you all next week.